We all know how the law of attraction works. Ask the universe for what you want, keep that vision in your mind, and eventually you'll get what you wish for. But what happens when you're living in a hyper-busy world full of bright, shiny objects and never-ending distractions that pull your focus away from that vision? What happens when you are so distracted that you forget to specify the terms of your wish? What happens when the universe shows up with exactly what you wanted, but it doesn't look the way you expected? Today on the Hot and Healthy in Business show, we have inspirational speaker, mindset coach, brain cancer survivor and best-selling author Luke Amery, who will be sharing with us his own story of manifestation and why you should be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much.
I want to know, what did you ask the universe for and what happened?
Well, good question, Nicole. Look, early, 2013, I wanted to come home. I was working in the mining industry, open cut mining industry, been in it for a long time, had enough, and I wanted to get out. So, literally every night before I go to bed, I would say, thank you, universe, I'm so grateful to be alive, the abundance of money, but I'm looking for a new career and I want to come home. And I kept saying that and kept saying that and kept saying that. And essentially, I got these chronic headaches and blurred vision, and bang, on the 1st of January 2014, we found a growth in the side of your head. Yep, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, what happened was my wife got a free coffee first. They were like, wow, this is... yeah, it's very nice. Hey, so she got a free coffee and they said, well, we're going to have to take your husband to the Gold Coast Brain Injury Clinic and to do some more tests. And put you in there for a little while and put you on steroids and just see what it is. So, yeah, went there and found out what it was through MRIs, multiple MRI scans throughout the head and spine. And the plan of attack was actually just go in for a discovery brain surgery and just see what it was. So, yeah.
And how long did it take before they were able to tell you what it was?
It was essentially 4 days after the surgery. The results had come back that it was cancer. So the plan initially was to just remove 95% of the tumour and just have chemo and radiation. So the results come back and I wasn't aware, but I was actually about to go home. And the nurses were avoiding the situation of actually giving me the news because it was like so dramatic. So after I had my family in the room, I had a Chinese doctor intern, I think it was. She come in and she was quite nervous. I could feel it. She come in and just gave me this piece of paper and said, 5 year. You live 5 year. So sorry. And then she got, any questions? And I said, no. And my family, my brother and sister-in-law were quite shocked. And I was quite gobsmacked as well. And I just sat there and I was on the hospital bed. I just sat there and went, holy heck. Okay, let's just keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
That was your response?
That was it.
Let's jump back a little bit. What was happening? What was your environment like out in your job that you were doing at the time? Why did you want to get out?
Essentially I wanted to get out. Even though I was earning a 6-figure income, I was finding it challenging to work with co-workers where their environment was, or their mindset was to just get on the drink and just work and really have no drive to actually have an awesome life. And I always found myself going out on my own anyway, not following the herd. So that's essentially, it was one of the reasons. And number two was I was getting tired of actually working away from home. And even though it was only 6 years, it was just getting enough. I was just had enough. Yeah.
How often would you see your family?
That roster prior to diagnosis was once a month. It was like 3 weeks on away from my family, then I have a whole week at home. So sometimes I only see my family for 5 days out of that, 25 days or 30 days in a month. Right. And prior to that, I was doing a fly-in, fly-out role where I was doing week on, week off, which was really, really good. But the money wasn't there, and the coal prices at the time had dropped, so layoffs was starting to really flow, So at that time, the coal seam gas industry was really exploding. So I went into that. Yeah.
And so, what was the work environment like? I mean, how stressful was it? What was going on in the workplace? I mean, you mentioned already there were layoffs and... Yeah,
layoffs, and different co-workers don't get along with everyone, honestly. And people like me, who don't follow the herd, who work on their mindset every day, who, don't drink every night, or just finish working, 10 beers and get up and do it again. It just wasn't my philosophy. And my philosophy was to go to the gym pretty much every day, eat well, because I loved the food out there. That was the only really, really good thing.
Wow, really? There was good food out there?
Oh, it was great. Indian curries, cakes, whatever you wanted. The food was there. But I just found that if I was getting dragged into a circle of influence where their vision of living a life, it didn't match me, I'd pull away straight away. So I always found myself a little bit outside of the circle, and I would get picked on. You know what I mean? So I had enough of that, and I started taking a stand for myself. Yeah, which was interesting results.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
So you're in an environment which is stress, pressure, away from family.
That's right.
But you are eating well. Sounds like
eating
well.
Very well.
And exercise.
Very fit.
How would you describe your fitness?
At the time, I was running. I'd do a 4-kilometre run after doing a 10-hour day. And, I'll get up at probably, depending on the camp and where the job was located, 4:30 in the morning. So I'd be up most of the day. Yeah, my fitness was really, really good. Extremely well. Being fit as I had been at that time in most of my life. Because they do offer, they do have a gym on site. So they do have personal trainers as well. And I kept going to the personal trainers and saying, look, I'm fat. And I had less weight than I have on now, Okay. So I was always like, I want to improve myself, feeding my mind with good podcast and awesome stuff. So I always found, but even though I was different, I attracted the people that really understood me, even though they did drink and stuff like that, but it was okay. Yeah.
They were still a little bit more at your vibrational level, still wanting to work on themselves.
Yeah. And I think they understood the difference, what page I was on. I just wasn't out there to, for example, the boss that was my boss at the time. I used to work with a company called Feast, which is a very well-known construction company worldwide as well. But they come back from they've finished work, they'll go to the pub. And that's what they were doing. And I was just like, why do I need to work out here away from my family and to spend money at a pub that's really not going to fulfill my needs of me and my family, so I didn't want to do that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And so you're putting out this request to the universe.
Yeah.
It's a fairly, should I say, general, open request.
Yeah.
I'd like a change of career. I'd like to be back with my family.
That's right.
And the universe delivered an opportunity for you to leave
it did.
where you were.
It did.
And it brought you back to your family. And then?
And then, I forgot to mention, but I was actually studying to be health and safety officer at the time. So I was doing that as well, where most people thought I was absolutely crazy. I really were. And saying that that's not a really good career to be in.
Why was that?
I don't know. See, if you can picture yourself as a police officer on a job site, that's what it's like. More stress.
Less people like you.
Yeah, totally. And I think it was just the universe telling me, well, it's not really your role. And
you were asking.
I was asking to come home. And I got that wish, didn't I? So
and that's something that we wanted to share with people who are watching this and tuning in, is that you do need to be specific.
Oh, you do.
How would you ask the question differently now?
Oh my God. Even now, I still do the same thing, but I'm more specific, right? Yeah. I'm just very, very defined with what I'm requesting or what I'm putting out to the universe. Very, very defined. You know, what should I suggest? You reckon? I'd say is literally, okay, you want to change your career, but what I should have done is that, okay, I want this sort of role that's going to provide the abundance and health for me and my family.
That's a bit more specific.
It's a little bit more specific, yeah. So I didn't do that. So anyway.
So how did your cancer journey bring you to do what you're doing now?
It's really interesting. I wouldn't think in a million years I'll be here now, giving back 4 years ago. It's just done a full 180, literally. So broken through these barriers of overcoming brain cancer, and now I've written a book, and I'm inspiring people, and when I share my true story with people, I have people in tears, and people, some people get angry too.
Why do you think they get angry?
Well, I had one lady, she said, you could go for your workers' compensation thing, and you could really knuckle this down, and it's so unfair this has happened to you. and I had that conversation with my mum, on the beach prior to my second brain surgery, and my mum was so angry, and she said, it should be me. It should be me. And I said, it's meant to be. It's meant to be. Let's not go down that road. Let's keep moving forward. So
even then you had a very strong positive mindset.
Yes.
Do you think that how much do you think that had to do with, your successful journey through?
I think it really helped. I met a lot of lovely people along the way, and I met Jessica, who I've dedicated my book to. She had the same brain tumour as me. And she had passed away, which is sad. But I purely think it is my mindset, my health, but also getting to it at the timing was right. I just got it. Really, I think if I was like another week or so, I don't think I'll be here. To be honest with you.
Were there any signs that something was wrong before you got diagnosed?
Yeah, there was. I had chronic headaches. Prior to actually going home, I was put in for leave for about 3 weeks holiday, and I thought it'd be a really, really good time to go on a holiday. Went home. It was New Year's Eve, actually, I think it was, or prior. And I thought I'll cook a really nice roast. And I cooked a pork roast, did the best pork roast I've ever done in my life. And the next day I woke up in the fetal position, literally vomiting, and couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. But prior to that, sorry, I'll take that back, is that I was consuming 6 ibuprofen tablets a day to keep the pain down from the headaches. Blurred vision. Talking to my co-workers is saying there's something wrong. I can't walk properly. I can't see properly. And then it corrected itself before my holidays and put the form in. Didn't feel right. And here I am, still on the holidays.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning one lady got angry because she was saying this, you need compensation for this.
Yeah.
What was the story behind that?
Well, she feels because it happened out at work. And I really made it clear. I said it's not work's fault, and wanted to really clarify that because I didn't blame anyone for this, and I didn't want to go down that road of being a victim of the whole cancer journey. So I said, okay, I appreciate what you're saying, but it's not what I'm here for.
So you've had this incredible experience. You're clearly somebody who had a different mindset to your co-workers. You're not in the right place for you to thrive.
That's right.
You're away from your family, high stress, there's insecurities around job security. It's potentially not a healthy work environment anyway in terms of, it's mining, it's coal.
Yeah.
But you definitely have some elements that you've now brought into your career, your new job.
Yeah, it's that's very true, and now I help people discover their true purpose, either whatever role it may be. But I actually help them, discover their their true mindset and live a life that each day is a gift.
We do take that for granted.
We really do,
and we complain about the most ridiculous things. I woke up this morning thinking,
things.
oh, the blanket got off me and I'm a bit cold. I'm annoyed that the blanket got off me.
That's right.
And then you catch yourself and you think,
wow,
I have a blanket. I have a bed.
Yeah.
I have life.
That's it.
So much to be grateful for.
Totally.
What are some of your daily practices to help you let go of stress? Because you've been through an incredible stressful time. That helps you get to the point where you can be, positive, present, help your clients. Yeah.
Look, I work on the mindset every day as not taking things personally, no matter what happens. If something does go wrong, try not to react to it. Try to listen into, okay, this has happened for a reason. Take a pill, sit down, just relax. Working on mindset every day, feeding my mind with good stuff. Audiobooks, YouTube, podcasts, books as well. So much more. My fitness, walking, that's what I do. And I always say, because what I've been through, right, people ask me and they say, you're so positive. I've seen the dark side, and I've come back from that. So there's just so much more out there, because once you're dead, you're dead.
It's over.
It's over, and we've just got to break through that fear barrier that some people are afraid to die, and dying isn't that bad. It's what can I say? It's just, if a going broke is more fearful than dying, I don't know what's worse. But life is a gift, it really is. And when I see people complain about the smallest things, it just truly astonishes me. I just go, wow, really. It's just take a pill, really look at it.
Have you always thought about life this way? And were there times during your cancer treatment journey that you thought differently?
Yeah. Because I was on medication, my mindset I was on steroids. So coming off that, oh my God, I totally understand what it's like to be a junkie. So coming off that really just wrecked my universe. So, I wanted to commit suicide, didn't want to be here, why me, why has this happened to me?
So you went through all what we would expect as some of the normal shock, horror, rejection, anger.
I I can't go back to that career now too. You know, at that time I was like, oh yeah, no worries. But when things start to sort of go blunt a little bit and go, well, I can't even go back to my mining role. I can't earn 6-figure income anymore because my doctor said, like, Luke, you can't do that anymore. You're just not physically fit to do that. Mentally, you're not capable.
You went through quite a recovery stage. How many surgeries did you have?
I had three brain surgeries. What was it? Chemotherapy, 4 months of chemotherapy, radiation, about 30 radiation rounds, blood cell transplant. So they had to harvest my blood cells prior to radiation. And that was the treatment phase to actually bounce me back up. So it's like having a massive a Barocca or a vitamin B for my blood. So the needles were that long. So you literally had to sit like that for...
Sounds like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah, so for 4 or 5 hours. Yeah.
And during this time, what resources are you drawing from to say, I've got to keep going? I mean, there are times you said you thought, I don't want to be here, it's too hard.
You know, when I was diagnosed, first surgery, and I was bound to go home. I literally had my bags packed in the hospital, had my wife, and my son were just outside, and I had the radiologist, oncologist come in, and I hadn't found out that it was cancer at that time, and she comes in, and I was about to walk out the room, and she's, oh, Luke, I've got the results. I said, oh, that's good, that's cool. Well, I'm going to go now. And she's, no, I need to tell you, can you sit down? And I was sitting down near the window, and she looks me straight in the eyes and says, Luke, it's cancer. I don't. I'm like, so it's cancer.
I couldn't say the words.
Well, it's just like, whoa, you know. And next minute, my wife walks in with my son, which was only 12 months at the time. And he's just bouncing his legs in the pram, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to pull through this. Yeah. I'm going to have to pull through this no matter what. And I think the effect on Renee's face was she was at my level. Like, she understood the effect from the news that she was giving me that was going to change my life. And then she said, I'll be in touch. I said, okay, cool. And I didn't become desperate. I wasn't like, oh, are you going to call me? Or here's my number. I was like, okay, well, the universe has got my back. Which, you know, I still find today challenging, right? But then I was just like, I'll just go with the flow. If she's going to call me, if it's going to happen, you know, it's meant to be. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of them anyway. Yeah. So
a lot of what you've said so far has got a lot to do with the stressful work environment, the conditions in which you were working, you know, you're away from your family, all that sort of stuff. So that leads to burnout?
Total burnout.
What tips would you give someone who's watching this going, I'm struggling, I have stress, I'm away from my family, I've got financial pressures. What sort of advice would you give them to let the stress out, avoid burnout, don't put your body and your mind under so much pressure?
Are you thinking maybe changing careers sort of thing? Or
it could even be mindset type things. Some of the things that you share in your book.
You know, you've got to really look at it and say, okay, who am I? Who am I being? And why am I here for? For me, personally, I can suggest is that, you know, what's your vision? You know, are you here just to pay the bills or just, you know, work away from your family? And it's really, there's more to life than that. Sincerely, it's, you know, life is friggin' awesome. And sometimes we can just take it for granted. But for burnout, listen to your body. It really tells you so much. It's a true message giver, you know. And if you're not happy, change. Really, if, you you know, things happen for a reason, right? And if you're not happy in a job and you're burnt out, you're tired, look at it this way. If you wake up the next day and you find a lump in your arm and it's cancerous and you've got 6 months to live, that's it. That's it. So don't let it go that far. You know, listen to your body. Yeah.
And also about that vision. You know, you want him to be around to see your son grow up and be there for him.
Totally.
So knowing what's important to you and then,
you
know, creating a life around that.
Oh, bang on. Yeah, totally. Okay.
So if there was one message you can leave the audience with for them to remember you and what you stand for and what's important to you, what would you tell the audience?
Be yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks about you. Even if you've got 2 people in your inner circle that really love you, and you see other people looking at you making judgments, talking behind your back, let it be. You know, don't let it drag you down. I really find that for me inspiring because I know I'm doing something right. Throughout school, throughout high school, I was always on the outer. And I look at it now and I just absolutely love it. I love being me. So that's what I suggest. Don't be afraid to shine. Really, just be you. Yeah. Thank
you so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If you like this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button and go and check out all our other videos. I'll see you in the next one.